Hello. I was not thinking about doing a posting today, but when I heard the speech by our favorite British hypomanic drummer, uh, Andy, and that's in a friendly tone. On virtuosism, I thought I couldn't let it pass because it's too full of inaccuracies. And at the end of the day, it's elitist. Elitist as much as the posh people that seems to criticize so much. Uh, the question is that, uh, let's say, a, a virtuoso guitar player would be somebody with a technical command of the guitar uh, that is very advanced and allows the player to execute very demanding pieces of music, rapid runs or complex fingerings or techniques with uh, a lot of apparent ease and a lot of precision, and that in itself is a definition of a classical guitar player, say the type of classical Spanish player like Segovia, for example, or Narciso Yepes, or Sainz de la Maza, and many that have followed that path in this century, very young. That's why there are people that trash any guitar that's not classical because the focus is not on virtuosity. Uh, in jazz or rock, the way of valuing extraordinary technique could be, for example, flawless alternate picking, sweep picking, legato runs, wide intervallic leaps, and very complex chordal voicings. I'm thinking of persons like John McLaughlin or Frank Gambale or Aldi Meola or among the young generation, Matteo Mancuso, who integrates them all with his own actually classical guitar right hand technique, speed and accuracy, uh, uh, characteristic that blew the world of music of in the 70s at high tempos is something that John McLaughlin has and had in great extent. But if you hear him, he also did many other things that musically, as a package, made him the um, uh, favorite player by many of his generation and beyond, um, including the mastery of tone and touch, the control of dynamics, timbre, the attack and release, which is characteristic of blues players and jazz blues players. like say mm, George Benson or Robin Ford. The command of extended techniques such as tapping, harmonics, whammy bar, a la Jeff Beck, or feedback manipulation is something that is also included in the electric guitar world of rock and even jazz rock fusion. Sometimes borrowed from rock directly. So this, I think, is a first way of understanding virtuosism. So, in that sense, um, virtuosism is something, but it's not sufficient to make someone a great musician. There are great virtuosos that nobody would consider great musicians. And that's subjective, like the philosophy of aesthetics, against what Andy says. There has not been an agreement in terms of um, the science of studying music, for example, over universal aesthetics. There is, however, some biology of music that shows a universal predisposition for rhythm, repetitive patterns, voice, call and response, but not much. In fact, the majority of aesthetics in music are cultural, with wide cultural differences, uh, personal differences between individuals within a same culture, and differences within individuals over time. So there is very little to say about objectivity. Uh, and even the basics of music can change from one civilization to another. For example, the reliance on microtones, that's more common in the Indian music than in the Western Greek system. So, being dogmatic about the what is the universal aesthetic, the supposedly universal music aesthetic is already a form of establishing a hierarchy, an elitism. Only a few, say, virtuoso can understand and play what is aesthetically beautiful music. And that is or not true. For example, in jazz, we know that the best musicians often are not the virtuosos. Think about, say, Miles Davis compared to Dizzy Gillespie or Freddie Hubbard. And yet his musical vision was so strong that he changed jazz 6 or 7 times. Um, and that would be or Marsalis. He's a great educator, but actually he was a copy of attempt at copying Marsalis' second great quintet for a while. So I would say that the huge emphasis on virtuosism can get in the way of musicality, at least in the world of, say, jazz or improvisational music, including a good part of rock also, and blues. So um, there are a lot of innovators that have pushed jazz ahead that were not the most virtuoso. Say, compare Duke Ellington with Art Tatum. Art Tatum may be the most virtuoso piano player of the genre, and yet in the list of the most influential players, uh, Duke Ellington would be there, and musicians, excuse me. Duke Ellington would be there most of the time, but not so much Art Tatum. Uh, so that's a first error uh, that Andy uh, falls into and reveals a preference for a system that's hierarchical and elitist. If only a few can achieve the appreciation and the performance of good music. I particularly don't care what they may say, but I prefer to listen to B.B. King than to Alan Holdsworth, who particularly to me, I get bored. Even recognizing the extreme virtuosism, but strange chord complexity for complexity's sake, and unending legato runs struck me like confusing virtuosism with depth for persons who want to feel unique in the capacity to appreciate the highest levels of music. Uh, then, excuse me, I would like to emphasize another big mistake that um, Andy uh, 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 did during his um, presentation. This is the definition of a dead um, genre of music and his choice. I would consider that a genre if there are no new or uh, important musical performances or recordings, that there is no fresh material or there is no innovation. Everything is retrospective or a mix of genre. And the genre is not moving forward, so to say. This is a very hard uh, definition because uh, it would seem that contemporary jazz almost falls into that definition. There, There are people out there that play uh, Col, Col, like Coleman Hawkins better than himself, or Sidney Bechet, or Miles Davis, or Django Reinhardt, etc. So also there hasn't been any new movement for years. There is, though, an increasing complexity, abstraction, but that's very removed from the swing, the groove, the expressive nature, and the emotion behind both blues and ballads and their uh, improvisation, including the most complex. Another thing is that there is no audience, that the people do not go to concerts of the genre, and there are no young followers. So there is no festivals or clubs, or the scene doesn't exist. And there is a kind of stylistic redundancy, something that, due to the academization of jazz, uh, is a risk, because everybody has to learn bebop, and well, the training is very similar across universities. Uh, so there is a point where it's like a museum piece rather than uh, an evolving art that lost contact with, uh, at the end of the day, is with the people, because somehow it always starts and ends there. Uh, but um, one cannot say that a genre is completely dead, because there are phenomena of a genre is out of fashion, appears dead, and then a few decades later it resurfaces. For example, the synthesizer um, pop rock of the 80s. It has resurfaced in recent years, or the swing revival of the late 90s with the dancing that went with it, big band swing. Um, so qualifying something as that might mean that it's not forever. We don't know. That's another mistake, I think. Uh, and the final and biggest mistake, I think, of uh, um, of Andy is maybe in a genre that he uh, calls dead because he doesn't love it, because it's very it's loved by working class people. It seems to be, quote unquote, easy, and um, well, uh, that makes it less attractive than, say, uh, progressive rock. To me, it's the opposite. Blues, I think, is almost a universal feeling, and I doubt that it's going to disappear because of that universality. And I find it much more authentic and even complex than, say, progressive rock. That although I loved some of it, I also thought in general like uh, music for people who wanted to feel sophisticated and liking rock at the same time. And I sold all my progressive records. And who would I save? Maybe Jethro Tull, who are more hard rock and than progressive, in my opinion. And one song of ELP uh, from the beginning. The rest uh, it doesn't get to me. And yes, maybe close to the edge, and definitely the rock of the 80s, owner of a lonely heart. And to me, that's it. So, on the other hand, the blues, I see it as changing uh, a lot from the generation of the uh, kings, Albert King, B.B. King, uh, Freddie King, and Albert Collins, to the contemporary generation. I see a big stylistic change. For example, uh, Derek Trucks, who has in some way changed the way the tone, influenced by Indian music and jazz of a slide guitar, and is completely at the same time in the blues tradition. Blues actually favors individuality, excuse me. Well, somebody can say that the neoclassical, um, well, the new jazz guitar players sound quite similar. That's not true with blues. The individuality of the guitar sound is something that emerges in uh, in the good players. That's what distinguishes them, and already not only comparing the greats of yesterday, but people like Derek Turks and uh, others like let's see who I could mention. Um, mm, of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan in the 90s with Texas Flood and other classics. The emotion, energy, passion, and tone, and rhythm, and expressiveness of his blues playing uh, revived in some ways the um, blues rock guitar player of the Hendrix tradition, and also was very influenced by Albert King. But the style was all his own, and he was recognizable with a couple of notes. Um, in the 2000s, that was in the 80s. In the 90s, in the 2000s, we have young people like Joey Bonamassa, who is more of a virtuoso and transform blues into an arena music, rock blues phenomenon, which it was new. And it's a blend of, um, I would say, the old blues masters with some rock virtuosos like um, that Texan master who wrote The Cliffs of Dover. So we have in the 90s, as I mentioned, Derek Tross. Body Guy continued changing and at the same time maintaining his um, electric blues style for decades. And he's also recognizable for the particular expressivity of his solos. The innovation brought in the 2010s by Gary Clark Jr., who had hip hop rhythms, psychedelic influences by Hendrix, and fine solos full of emotion, has had a positive influence in younger generations. Also, Samantha Fish has a mix of classic blues and kind of garage rock style that's very recognizable in the 2020s. In the same period, appear a favorite of mine with a great voice, Christoph Kingfish Ingram, who blends his own Mississippi blues heritage with an impeccable technique and soulful but very fast and clean phrasing, and with rock influence at the same time. He has had also a lot of younger audiences. And I forgot from the 80s the great Robert Cray, who was a success in the charts with several of his tunes and albums, like, say, A Strong Persuader, and had this blend of blues, soul, and a very personal way of playing the guitar with a position in his Stratocaster that's not very common, the second from the last position that has a special twang, but he made it very bluesy. And his songwriting is excellent as well as his singing. He has it all. And he's very unique and recognizable. And all of these had some mastery and innovation and influence. So records, and more important, have longevity with audiences that follow them. And also, finally, my number one, which is for me Robert Ford, who brought jazz to blues, starting from the blues and playing with Charlie Musselwhite and no, that famous blues singer. Um, anyway, I many blues singers. Then with the LA Express group backing Johnny Mitchell, George Harrison, Miles Davis. Not only he become uh, um, jazz rock fusion player coming from the blues with a very solid foundation, but he came back to the blues after this jazz rock experience, for example, from his group, the Yellow Jackets, or his Jing Chi group with Vinny Colaiuta and Jimmy Haslip, and being the founder, as I mentioned, of the one of the founders of the Yellow Jackets. Uh, he brought when he came back to the blues, he brought a lot of this jazz background and changed the way the blues is played. He is one of the guitar players that Miles Davis praised. He left Miles Davis to continue his own career. Miles Davis told him he could come back anytime. And he, in my knowledge, he never said any critical word about him. He said always things that were praising. For example, that he's a very rare musician because he knows how to play in different styles, when to play many notes and when to stop playing, something that Alan Holdsworth never learned. And served the music in that way. Uh, so, with those accolades, I just suggest that people listen to him. And a revolution that he um, caused when he came back to the blues with his jazz background, sort of a second T-Bone Walker. Uh, he brought, for example, relatively large numbers of scales that were not used. So his harmonic sophistication from his jazz fusion experience, it was greatly influenced in other players that are considered at the top of jazz rock, such as Frank Gambale, or the other great virtuoso Matteo Mancuso, just to name two. So this is, I think, enough proof that. Uh, oh, and I forgot his unique tone when he plays slow blues is something that brings down the house. One can see his timing is impeccable as well. And there are clips even on YouTube where he uh, plays, as I mentioned, slow blues that are extremely moving. He's a unique player. So all of what I said shows that the blues is definitely not dead, that keeps changing. For example, Miles Davis, to me, was maybe the greatest blues player. And every time he changed jazz, he brought change of blues with it, from the cool blues to say the wah period in Red China blues with an orchestra, to the new blues of the late period, to the incredible star people. So I hope that I convince you of these arguments against what Andy was saying. So thank you for listening.